In this video, we will now start deploying the configuration file for NDB node, MySQL, and NDB management. Then we will try it to run for the first time. So let's get started. Let's go to the data node. For the data node, we need to make an configuration file called etcmy.cnf. This one. These are the cluster 1 and cluster 2 for the data node. So we need to edit it on cluster 1, vim etcmy.cnf. For the connect string, we need to add the IP address of our NDB management cluster, which is 10.138.30.191. Now you need to copy it so that we can paste on the cluster 2. Save the file. Now we have to go to cluster 2, then vim, cnf. Press I to insert codes, paste, and just save it. Now we're done. Now let's try if the NDB will work. So NDB, just run NDB. I think NDBD. Yeah, it's NDBD, unable to connect with connect string, blah blah blah. It's because our cluster management is not yet running, so we just leave it as is. We will run it later after we set up our NDB management. So our first thing we need to do is we have to create the directory for our data node. mkdirp, so it will create all folders. Enter. Same on cluster 2, mkdirp, enter. So let's check if we have that folder. Yeah, it is. So let's go back to the home directory. Okay, so we have now created the directories for our data node. Our next thing we need to do is to create the service file. This service file is needed so that our data node will run on startup. So we'll just have to create ndbd service at etc systemd system folder, then the name of the services, ndbd.service. Now we will need to add this code. Then paste. Now we will save this file. Press escape, then WQ. Save. You'll do the same on the cluster 1. So just copy this one. Enter. Let's copy this. Press I to insert. Then save. I just pick this one. Okay, so we have now the services. The next thing we need to do is to enable the service. So to do that, sudo system ctl enable ndbd. Now it will create a symbol link to the services. You'll do the same on the cluster 2. Sudo system ctl enable ndbd. Then we have to reset the daemon. So we'll do that. Sudo system ctl daemon reload. Do the same on the cluster 2. Sudo system ctl daemon reload. Now it's done. So we are now done with with the data node. So these are all done, and then so our remaining configuration that we need to set up is for MySQL API. To do that, we just have to edit the existing file for our MySQL server at mycnf. So let's go to bin sudo bin etc mysql my.cnf. If you notice, they have the same name, mycnf and etc mycnf. This etc mycnf is for the data node, and this etc mysql mycnf is for the MySQL server. So don't get confused with the two files. It is different. So here we just have to add some connection string for our NDB management. This one, just copy this, then paste the string. We have to change the NDB connection string with our cluster management private IP address, which is this one. Just copy it so we can paste it in the cluster too. So save the file. Now let's do the same on cluster 2. Bin etc mysql my.cnf, then just paste the string. Now save it. So it's done. What we need to do is to let's wait. So our MySQL is now set up, and the next thing we need to do is to set up our cluster management, this one. So to set up this, we need to create a directory first, usr MySQL Cluster. So you just have to mkdir sp/usr MySQL Cluster, and then we go back to our configuration file. We need to copy this, and let's create the configuration file, usr MySQL Cluster config.ini. You can actually place the config anywhere you want, but for me it's best to put it here, so you'll find all the configuration in one place. So insert the code. So on this code, this is for the number of replica, meaning how many cluster or node do you have, and this one is for our cluster management, and this one is for our nodes, the cluster, and this one is for the MySQL. So since we have two cluster or node, we need to put here 2. If you have 3, you put that 3, but we have only 2. So here, the host name for cluster management, you need to put here the private IP address. You can place the public IP address, but it will be slow, so it is important that you place this private IP address here, so there's no latency problem. And then this configuration for our cluster, we will get the private IP of our cluster 1, then paste, and then we have to assign a node ID. For the node ID, we can start at 10th, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So let's say 11. We also need to assign node ID for our node management. We can start at 1 for the management, and for the nodes at 10ths. So we are already done setting up our configuration for cluster 1. We need to copy it for cluster 2. We paste and assign the new node ID 12, 11, 12. And let's get the private IP. Now set up. So in case you need to create another node, you just have to copy this again, assign new node ID 13 and put in the new IP, let's say 5, and make sure the number of replica is updated based from the number of nodes that you have. So let's just delete this because we don't need this one. For MySQL, we just need to get the IP address of our cluster 1. And for the node ID for MySQL, we can start at 20s. So let's say 21. So for the cluster 2, let's create a configuration for it. Then copy the IP address and then assign node ID 22. So we are done with the configuration. We can now save it. Once it is saved, we need to add it in the services for the NDB management to start on the reboot. So to do that, we have to create this file. Then to do that, we just have to add this file in the system directory, file name of the service, and then copy this one, and then press I and paste and save. Once it's saved, you just have to sudo systemctl enable ndb mgmd, and then we just have to reload the daemon tool. Now we're done. And then since we are done now on this one directory and services, what we need to do is to initialize our configuration file for NDB management. This code here will do that. Meaning of this code is it will initialize any new changes to configuration that you need. So if you did any changes on your configuration, this code is so very useful, so you need to save it in case you need it in the future. So yeah, let's try running it and let's see if there's any error, and press enter. Everything's fine. Now let's go back to our cluster 1 or in cluster 2, and let's check if our cluster is connected to the cluster management. To do that, we just have to ndb mgm e then show. As you can see, we are now connected to the NDB management. And let's check the cluster 2, ndb mgm e show. Yeah, it's still connected. Now if you notice, the NDB is not yet connected. Why? Because we haven't run yet the NDB. So to run the nodes, you just have to run this command ndbd and enter. Now it's now connected. Let's see if it's connected on the list. Yeah, it's connected here. So let's do the same on cluster 2, ndbd, and let's check it if it's listed. Yeah, it's listed. Now if you notice, our MySQL is not yet running. It's not running because the configuration we edited earlier is not yet reflected. So to reflect it, you just have to restart the MySQL. Restart. Then let's check if it's now connected. Yeah, it's connected. You do the same on cluster 1. Sudo service MySQL restart. Then let's check if it's connected. Yeah, so right now we can test if it's properly working. So let's check. Let's log into our MySQL. U root p Now let's check the database in this. So here is the default database, and let's see if we create something here, it will show on cluster 2. So let's say create database. This is from cluster 1. Ha ha ha. Enter. Oops. Yeah, then let's check if it reflects that. Yeah, it's here. And then we need to check if this one is reflected in the cluster 2. MySQL root B. And let's check. Yeah, it's reflected. The one we created on cluster 1 reflected on cluster 2, meaning our MySQL cluster is working properly. So let's try if you create something here, it will reflect also on cluster 1. So create database. This is from cluster 2. Hehehe. Enter. Now let's check first. Yeah, it's here. So let's go to cluster 1 if it was selected. Yeah, it's here. So everything works. There's no problem with your database. So on the next video we will test more how we use MySQL Cluster, including sample PHP program. And that's it. Thank you so much. See you on the next video.